How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Mem Daled, Daf 44 of Masechta Sanhedrin, friends. I hope the sun isn't too sunny right now. There's so much light in this place that I'm at, which is an awesome thing. But also, it's hard to find a place without too much sun. Anyways, we're going to go weiter in Masechta Sanhedrin, in the 6th parak Nigmar Adin. Here we go. Says the Gemara, Chata Yisrael, that the Rebbeinu Shalom says to Yeshua that the Yidden have sinned after Achin took from the spoils of Jericho. Omer B'Abba Bar Zavda Afal Pisha Chata Yisrael. Who you hear this? You hear the drash? It says Chata Yisrael, that even though he's Chata, even though he sinned, he's still a Yid. Still a Yid. Afal Pisha Chata Yisrael. Who even if a person sins, Rachmana Litzlan, nonetheless he's still a Yid. Still a Yid. Omer Ba'Abba says, Baba Hanudam, into this what the people say, Asa Dekoy Beni Chilfe, if you have a horos, a myrtle among the thorns, Asa Shmei V'Asa Korle, it is nonetheless a myrtle. They call it myrtla, and its name is myrtle, and they call it moidel. Says the Gemara, Gamover is brisi, Asher Tzivis Yosem, Gam Lokhu Min Acherim, Gam Gonvu, Gam Kichashu, Gam Samu B'chleim. 5 things. Again, the Gamover is brisi, Asher Tzivis Yosem, they violated my covenant that I made with them. Gam Lokhu Min Acherim, they took from the spoils. Gam Gonvu, they stole. Gam Kichashu, they Kichashud. Gam Samu B'chleim, and they placed things in their bags. Rabbi Illa says, Rabbi Illa Mishum Rabbi Yehuda Bar Masparta Melamed over Achin al Chamisha Chum Shetor Shenema Chamisha Gam, that it teaches that Achin violated the entire 5 books of Moses, as it says Gam. Right, there are 5 things mentioned there: Gam this, Gam that, Gam the other thing. It says five Gams. So it teaches that Achin violated the entire 5 books of Moses. Vamer Rabbi Illa, and says Rabbi Illa, Mishum Rabbi Yehuda Bar Masparta, Achin Moishech Bar Laso Hoya. Achin, he pulled on his orla to restore. He didn't like, I guess, having a bris milah. He wanted to basically cover it up. Ksivach, it says over here, V'gam over is brisi. It says over here, they violated my covenant. It says by bris milah, Ksivosim is brisi hefer. So he tried to undo his bris milah. Pshita, this is obvious. Of course, he tried to undo his bris milah. It says that he violated all 5 books of Moses. So if he had a bris milah, he had to undo it. So ma'odetema b'mitzvah gufei loifaker komashmalan. But I may have thought that maybe a mitzvah that was already part of his body already, he would leave it alone. Nit, even that he had to reverse. V'chiyosan avala b'Yisrael omer b'Abba Bar Zavda melamed shabal ochin nar marosa. And it says that the Navala was done with the Yidden. So it teaches that Achin slept with a betrothed maiden, Nara. Ksivach says, and it says, by Nara Marosa, Ki also saw Navala b'Yisrael. And it says somebody sleeps with a Nara Marosa, it says, Ki also saw Navala b'Yisrael. So Navala teaches that Achin slept with the Nara Marosa. Pshita, it's obvious, of course, as we said, he violated the entire 5 books of Moses. So Madatema may have thought Kuli Alei Fakr Nafshe Kamashma. Maybe he didn't do such a bad thing, as Rashi points out, Rala Shamayim Virala Brias. It's bad Ben Adam Lamakum, it's Ochid bad Ben Adam Lachaver. Kamashmalon, he even did that. Ravina Amar says Ravina Dine Kinara Marosa, the Beskila says Ravina that, and his punishment is like that of a Nara Marosa Skila. Amle Reish Galusa le Ravuna. The Reish Galusa says to Rafuna Ksiv, it says, Vayikach Yoshua es Achin ben Zorach. It says that Joshua took Achin ben Zorach, Vesa Kesef and the silver, Vesa Aderis and the garment, Ves Lishon Azov and the gold, Ves Banav Bnosav, his sons, daughters, Veshor Ves Chamaru, his ox, his donkey, Ves Tzono, his sheep, Ves Oholo, his tent, Ves Kol Ashelo, all the things that he has. Imucha Banav Bnosav Machatu. Okay, I understand. He sinned, so he's in big trouble. But why do we have to take his entire family? What do they do? Amalei. So Ravuni responds with a taimech. No, according to that flow, im hu chata kol Yisrael machatu. it also says in that pasuk that all of Israel, what did they do? Rather to give musar, to make an example of Achin, to teach a lesson. So just like by the Yisrael, is to teach a lesson, to make an example. So Ochit, by all of his his family, Ochit was to teach a lesson to them. V'yisrafu osam boish, and they burned them in fire. V'yizklu osam ba'avonim, and they stoned them with stones. Betarte, with both. Ravina says, Ravina, I wrote the sefer, I wrote the skila. Well, it depends on the thing that was being destroyed. If it's the type of thing you destroy by burning, so they burned it. If it's the type of thing you destroy by stoning, you stoned it. Va'ir ba'shalo ader shiner achas, and Ochin admits that he saw in the spoils a Babylonian cloak, tova, it was very gevaldig, u'masayim shkolim keseb, and 200 shekels of silver. Rav Amar Itztala Demelso Shmuel Amar Sarvla Detzrifa. One of them says it was a cloak of fine. Rav says a cloak of fine wool. Shmuel says a cloak of some kind of alum. What the heck is alum? Dennis. Vayatzikim Lefnei Hashem. Yoshua then threw them before the Rebbeinu Shalom. Omar Rav Nachman says Rav Nachman Bavachavton Lefnei Amokim, that Yoshua came and he threw them down before the Rebbeinu Shalom. Omar Lefanov, and Yoshua says to the Rebbeinu Shalom, Rebbeinu Shalom, Al Elu Teori Gruba Shel Sanhedrin, because of these silly things that Achin stole that he took from the spoils, that is why 36 holy Yidden lost their lives. Right? The majority of a Sanhedrin is 70. The majority is 36. For this Mishagas, the apostle says, that the people of Ai managed to kill 36 holy Yidden. 36 neshamas tehoris. V'tani, we're learning the Brisa Shloshim v'shisha mamish divrei Yehuda. Yehuda says it was taka 36 neshamas, Yiddish neshamas. Amalei Reb Nechemia says to Rabbi Yehuda, v'chishloshim v'shisha hayu v'alei lo nemar ela kishloshim v'shisha ish. What do you mean 36? It doesn't say that the Ayans killed 36 Yidden. It doesn't say that. It says like 36 Yidden. El is a Yoir ben Menashe. This is Yoir, the son of Menashe, Sheshakol Keneged, Ruba Shel Sanhedrin, who is he was considered, I guess because of his greatness, to be like 36 people, like the majority of the Sanhedrin. Omer of Nachman, Omer Rab, Ma'idich Tachnun Midaber Rosh Voshu Yaina Azus. What does it mean that a Rosh speaks, a downtrodden person, a desperate person, speaks with Tachanunim, with petitions, and V'oshu Yaina Azus, but a wealthy person answers with abruptness, with strength, with huff and puff. So who's talking with petitions? I don't know if petition is the right word. Beseeching, and who's talking with huff and puff? Tachnun midaber az Moshe. When it's talking about Tachanunim, we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. V'oshu yaina Azus, we're talking about the Azus ze Yoshua. My timer, how come ilim mishum dichsiv vayatzikum lifnei Hashem? If you're going to say, how do we know that Yoshua was being huff and puff? Well, because it says he threw these objects in front of Hashem and he said, for this mishagas. But v'omer of Nachman v'bav v'chav l'fnei amakum. Right? We said Rav Nachman says he came and he threw them before God. But otu Pinchas lo avidachi. What did Pinchas not do? This Dizel Bazach? Did he not do the same thing? V'oksiv v'yamad Pinchas v'yifalo v'teotzo mageife. That by the when the people were, there was a whole mess over there with the Moabite women and Baal Peor and all sorts of terrible things. So it says that there was a Magefa, 24,000 Yiddish neshamas lost their lives, and it says Vayamud Pinchas got up Vayifalel, and he yifaleled Vateotzer Magefa, and the Magefa stopped. Vamer Belazar says Belazar Vayispalel lo nemer. It doesn't say that he prayed. It says Ela Vayifalam Lama also Plilis Imkene, that he made judgments, he made arguments with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Ba v'chavton lifnei amakim. He took Cosby and Zimri and the and he threw them before the Ribono Shel Olam, Omar lefonov Ribono Shel Olam, and he says, Ribono Shel Olam, Al elu yiplu esen v'arba elef miYisrael. For these individuals over here, 24,000 neshamas taharis, Yiddish neshamas, had to go to Wellwood. Dichsiv, as the pasuk says, Vayu amesim b'magefa arba v'esem elef, that it says that in the magefa 24,000 Yidden ended up in Wellwood. So it can't be that Yoshua is being referred to as a huffer and puffer because he threw the items in front of the Ribono Shel Olam. Pinchas did the zel bezach. So ve'ela rather me'acha from here. Lo me'avarte hever sa'ama zeh sayardin. Why did you take the Yidden over? Why did you have to bring them into Eretz Yisrael if you're just going to kill them? Moshe Nami mei meromer. But Moshe Rabbeinu said the zel bezach. Lo marios lo mazeh. Why are you being bad to this nation? What was it? Was that the end of Parshas Shmos? What was that? Parakeh, I think so. I think that was at the end of Parshas Shmos, no? Anyways, rather from here, that we could have just stayed in the Ever Yardin. Okay, I guess that's when he was huffing and puffing, I guess. Vayomer Shema Yoshua, Ribono Shel Olam says to Yoshua, Kum loch, get up, Darash B'Shila, Amar LeHakadosh Baruch Hu, Shelcha Kasher Mishalayim, that your lot is worth than theirs. 1 second. Okay, fine. I guess the Yiddens. I said, right, that when you cross the Jordan, you should put up these stones with the Sefer Torah written on them. And you, however, traveled 60 mills before erecting those stones. That's what Reb Shila said. But after Reb Shila left, Ukim Rav Amora Ole, Rav set up an Amora, somebody to express what he was going to say, what Rav was going to say. The Amora would say to the people. V'darish and Rav Darshan Kasha Tziva Hashem as Moshe Avdo, that the pasuk says that exactly as the Ribono Shel Olam commanded Moses, his servant, Kain Tziva Moshe as Yoshua, so did Moses command Joshua, V'chein also Yoshua, and so did Joshua do. Lo Esidav Mikol Asher Tziva Hashem as Moshe, and the pasuk attests that Joshua did not stray one iota from that which Moses instructed him. So what are you talking about? That it says that he was supposed to immediately erect these stones, but instead he did his own thing. The pasuk attests that he did not do his own thing. He did what he was supposed to the T. So what's pshat with this? The Ribono Shel Olam saying, "Get up! You're doing worse than them." So Amalei, the Ribono Shel Olam says to Yoshua, "Ata garam teloim, it's your fault that this whole mess happened." This is why it says by Ai that you'll do to Ai and to his king like you did to Jericho. And it says over there, then it says Rak shlalu vehemta tavozu lachem. But by Ai it says Taka, you can take from the spoils. Because the whole mess with Jericho was that Joshua added on his own that they can't take from the spoils. Kol hamoisiv gareya. The Ribono Shel Olam didn't say, don't take from the spoils. Joshua made it up, says, don't take from the spoils. And once he said, don't take from the spoils, somebody violated the decree and created a big mess. Kol hamoisiv gareya. Right? He added it, and look what happened. So so it says, so what does it say? It says, right, so it says Ata garam tolem. By adding that, by adding that demand, you created this mess where somebody didn't listen, and then all these people died. Azoy. Okay, the pasuk says in Joshua that when Joshua was by Jericho, he lifted up his eyes and he saw that there was a person there, Vayomer lo ki ani sar tzva Hashem ata busi. And the person who he sees says, I am actually a officer of the legions of God. I have come now. And immediately Joshua fell on his face to the ground and he bowed down to this officer from the legions of God. How did Joshua do this? Rabbi Yochanan says, you can't say Shalom Aleichem to your friend at the night. We have to be concerned that maybe he's a demon. So what's Yoshua schmoozing with this alleged officer of the legions of God? Well, what do you mean? He said who he was. He says that he's an officer of the legion of God. What's the problem? Maybe he isn't an officer from the legions of God. Maybe he's a hoax. Maybe he's a liar. Yeah, but the thing is, if it was a shade or something, some kind of demon, they wouldn't be motzi shemayim levatala. The fact that he says Nish Sar Tzva Hashem means that he's not a shade, and he can be believed that he's actually an officer from the legions of God. And the officer from the legions of God says, look, Yoshua, this afternoon you did not offer the Talmud Shel Arba'im, and now at night you are not studying the Holy Torah. What's going on over here? So Joshua says, okay, and how come you're coming now? You're coming because of the Talmud Shel Arba'im, or you coming because of the Talmud Torah? So Amle Ata Bossi. He says, I'm coming because you're Mavatal Torah. Miyad Vayolin Yoshua B'Laylahu. Immediately, it says that Joshua slept that night, B'Soicha Emek, in the depth, in the valley. Rabbi Yochanan, it teaches, Rabbi Yochanan it teaches, Shalon Be'umko Shel Haloche, that he rested in the depth of Haloche. Kilu, he didn't go to sleep, he was learning, he was steigen. That we see from here that studying the Holy Torah is greater than offering korbanis. Shenemer ata basi. Because it says, right? I mean, the officer from the legions of God says you did not offer the Talmud Shel Arba'im, and you're also being Mavatal Torah. He says, which one are you coming for? He says, because you're Mavatal Torah. So we see it being Mavatal Torah is more significant, or fakert kilu Talmud Torah, learning Torah is more significant than offering korbanis, even the korban Talmud. In Eretz Yisrael, what do you learn from the following pasuk? Don't go to fight so quickly. Don't be trigger happy. Because what are you going to do in the end? If you actually get embarrassed, right? When you start a fight, you think you're going to win, but you might not actually win. What happens if you taka get shmeized? So where am I? Fight with your friends, don't reveal other people's secrets. When the Rebbeinu Shalom says to Yechezkel, Lech Emer Loim Yisrael, go and tell the Yidden, Avicha Emori ve'imei Chitis, that your father is an Amorite and your mother is a Chitis. Amurach Piskonis of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a spirit interrupted before God, and that's apparently, and the Rashi says it's Gabriel, the angel Gabriel. Ribono shel olam, im yavoyu Avram v'Sarav yamdu l'fnecha ato omer loim umachim oisam. If you come and say this, and Avram and Sarah, who you're referring to, are here, they're going to be embarrassed. Riv choriv esreecha v'sod acher al tegal. No, if you're upset with the Yidden, so be upset with the Yidden, but don't reveal others' secrets. Keilu, if you want to give Musar to the Yidden, so give Musar to the Yidden. But you don't need to mention Avram and Sarah's backgrounds. Can Gabriel interrupt the Rebbeinu Shalom like this? Yes, Gabriel has 3 names: Piskon, Itmon, Sigron. Piskon, why is he called Piskon? Because he sort of interrupts and interjects the Rebbeinu Shalom. Itmun she'otim avonasem she'yisod, that he like covers up or something the sins of the Yidden. Sigron kim shesoga shuvin epusech, if Gavril tries beseeching God and praying for the Yidden, but he's unable to save them, well then nobody can save them. Hayarich shuach aloi b'tzar, if you organize your requests, your prayers when you are not in a in a tough strait. It says a person needs to precede with you have to pray in advance of any sort of tragedy. Because we see that that Avram erected a altar between Beisel and Ai, if I am not mistaken. Meaning already Avram Avinu realized that he had to pray in this spot, and because of his prayer, or let's say if he didn't pray, then mamish all the Yidden would have been destroyed. But because Avram in advance, way before the battle with Ai, had already prayed for about Ai, so that is why we were spared entire destruction. Because the continuation of that pasuk says, so now it says a person who strengthens himself with prayer in this world, so he doesn't have any adversaries or people to give him a hard time above. Rabbi Yechon says, it says Rabbi Yechon, a person should always pray that everybody should be supporting him and rooting for him and cheering him on, and that there shouldn't be any instigators, anybody against him above. So how do we know that by Ochin, right, he what did we say that was called? Confessed. And how do we know that that his confession worked and atoned? How do we know that his confession atoned? Shenemar, as the apostle says, Vayomer lo Yoshua, that Joshua says to Ochin, what have you, done bad with us? God will do bad with you, will soil you or something on this day. You are like soiled today, but not in the world to come. And it says, Uvnei Zarach, the children of Zarach, we know that Ochin was Ochin ben Zarach, he was the son of Zarach. But it says that the 5 children of Zarach were Zimri, Ve'esin, Ve'hemin, Ve'chalkol, Ve'dardo. Kulam Chamisha, they were all 5. My Kulam Chamisha, what are all 5? Kulam Chamisha in Olam Haba, that all of them went to Olam Haba, even Zimri who is Ochin. Ksiv Zimri, Ksiv Ochin. On the one hand, in this pasuk it says Zimri, but Zimri is also Ochin, referred to him as Ochin in different places. Rav Shmuel Charomer Ochin Shmo. One opinion is that his name is Take Ochin. V'lom Nikah Shmo Zimri. So why do we call him Zimri in this pasuk? Shasa Ma'aseh Zimri. He did like a Ma'aseh Zimri, as we said earlier, that he was boil a Nair Merasa. V'charomer Zimri Shmo. His name is really Zimri. V'lom Nikah Shmo Ochin. Why is his name Ochin She'ichin? I'm going to say in She'isah, because he caused the sins of Israel to come around and bite them or something like that, like a snake, right? Gilgal aleim pkidas avanosem, that he caused something to do with a circle, somehow like rolling around, circling Gilgal, and somehow sinning, and it basically created a big mess for the Yidden. And it comes from, it's like an achna, is a snake that kind of circles around itself. Where are we? If he doesn't know how to confess, okay, gewaldig. Right, so we said that if he doesn't know how to confess, so he just says that, well, that should be kapar for all of my sins. And Rabbi Yehuda says that if the Edom were liars, so then he says, there should be atonement for all of my sins except for this particular sin because I didn't do it. So, but then they said to him, what do you mean? But then everybody's going to do that. So let them do that. Right? Says the Gemara, okay, so let them do that. Well, you don't want, right, then it's going to reflect negatively on the Bezdin, on the witnesses, on the judicial process, right? If we don't want people, bad-mouthing the judicial system. And therefore, we say, just say that this should be an atonement for all of my sins. There was a mice with a person shot to the harik who was being taken out to be executed. Omar, he said, Im yeshbi oven zeh, if I really did this, which I didn't, but if I really did this, lo te misasi kapar l'chol avonosai, my death should not atone for any of my sins. V'im ein bi oven zeh, and if I'm innocent, te misasi kapar l'chol avonosai, well then my imminent death should be a atonement for all of my sins. Uvezdin v'cho Yisrael menukin, and Bezdin and all of Israel are innocent. They didn't do anything wrong. But v'ha'edim lo te lemechila le'olam. They should never have any mechila, forgiveness. When the Chachamim heard this harsh statement by the condemned, by the guilty defendant, they said, wow, we can't undo this. The verdict has already been verdicted. Okay, we have to execute him. But this is going to be a mess for these witnesses. Pshita, that's obvious. Obviously, we have to go ahead with execution. Just because he basically says, a very harsh statement, we can't just believe his harsh statement. It's talking about where the witnesses actually took back their testimony. Yeah, but so what? We have a halacha that once somebody says something, he can't go back and change what he said. So if the witnesses already testified something, yeah, of course, if they say, well, we take it back, we don't believe them. Once you say something, that goes on the record. But they explained why, they explained what happened and why they said what they did. Even so, we do, it stands and the fellow is executed, but the witnesses are in big trouble. They have to bear the responsibility. That was Daf Mem Daled of Masechta Sanhedrin. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.